welcome to Up Close with Carlos Sang, celebrating art, entertainment, and the human spirit. Welcome to another episode of Up Close with Carlos Sang. My next guest is an Offie Award-winning actor who has previously been seen in productions of Barbarians, Blue Orange, and is now currently starring as Michael in the Death of England plays at Soho Place Theatre. It's a huge delight to be able to introduce the wonderful Thomas Coombes. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, thank you for having us on, Carlos. Cheers. Yeah.
The last show I saw at the National Theatre before lockdown was the Death of England play with Rafe Spall playing Michael. I was, absolutely stunned by this character and by the story. What was your initial reaction to reading the script yourself?
Well, I too saw all of them. I saw the the whole trilogy. So I was well aware what the plays were and what they were about. And yeah, Rafe's performance and all three of the shows knocked me sideways. They were they were just so different from anything I'd seen in terms of theatre and what it had to say and the way it had to say it. So yeah, when Clint and Roy approached us about the West End transfer, I was I was all sorts of things. I was trepidatious, excited, and also terrified, and yeah, all of the emotions at once, really, because it's a very unique beast, as I'm sure you know from seeing it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your character, Michael, I mean, all of these characters, they're such, conflicted characters. They're such, vivid portraits, these plays. Was it challenging for you at all, connecting with Michael and empathizing with him too?
Um, I think this is part of the beauty of their writing. Clint and Roy, like, I mean, they're both working class black actors, but grew up with all these people around them, and so it comes from a real place of truth. And like my family are all from the East End of London as well, and so I've got those roots. And it's yeah, I think the beauty of all three of the plays, but I'm talking of my play in specific, obviously, because I'm doing my play, Death of England, Michael, is that it really does. It kind of presents you with essentially like, oh, is this going to be? We think we know this guy, we've seen him, but do we really know him? And it's trying to peel away the layers and basically just trying to have a conversation and understand where people come from and why they might make decisions they might make, from their past, from their father's influence, from their country's influence. And so finding a way in really, it was and to empathize with them. It didn't become that much of a job to empathize because they were just so well colored and well rounded, and they weren't hiding anything. They weren't pretending people to be angels when they weren't angels. It was just it was a very human portrait of these people. So it was really lovely to get your teeth into that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What has it been like doing one person show as well? Has it felt, strange not having another actor to react to?
Yeah, that's definitely something new to me. And and a challenge, as you say, like I mean, acting is all about usually like in film, telly, theatre, you're reacting and you're to what you're given, but I'm the only person who's who's speaking, so I'm just like, it's been an interesting one on that point of view, and like I guess as Clint said from the top, my friends or my partners are the props, the lighting, the sound, because theatrically it's such an amazing setup. And also, primarily, my partner is the audience, because obviously plays, all theatre relies on audience actor relationships, but never more so than these plays, I think. And so I'm genuinely talking and having a conversation, even if the audience don't answer back, but I do at some points, they have done. But it's they're so vital to this. So I almost feed off them, and it's beautiful and it's dangerous and all of the above, because depending on what audience I've got in and who I deliver what question to whom, the play changes like every night, really, depending on what I'm getting back from people and how people are responding to each line. Some people might take it more personally than others. And as Clint, the director, said, like everyone sort of gets it in the neck. No one's let off in these plays. I think everyone, us as a society, So hopefully people walk away, yeah, like having a questioning things, or like examining like their role in Britain, really, I guess. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very yeah, they're very cathartic plays, definitely. Was it an exciting prospect as well, performing these shows like in rep as well, getting to perform, I guess, sort of alongside, Papa Essiaду and, Erin Dirty and Sharon Duncan Brewster too.
Yeah, that was a big appeal. As you say, I mean, mine and Papa's are one person shows, and
Mm.
Erin and Sharon are the two that are working together on the third play. So we don't technically all work together, but we've all met, and it feels like a bit of a family kind of thing, and like we're all aware of each other, and we all play versions of each other within our plays. Like I do my version of Erin's character and Sharon's character and Papa's character, and likewise. So it's a really lovely thing that audiences can get to see them all three eventually back to back when they're playing in rep, when all three are playing together. You can see all three of them in a day, I think, like Harry Potter sort of thing. But not like Harry Potter because they're very different from Harry Potter. But yeah, that's this is a great ensemble of actors. Erin and Sharon Papa, they're all amazing. So it's a real honor to be in that lineup to explore these amazing characters with these guys. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a little while since we last saw you doing theatre as well. How has it been back, getting to do a theatre routine again and you performing for a live audience again too?
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely. Yeah, the last play I did was at the just before lockdown. It was at the Royal Court Kind of People, it was called. And we finished it in January, February. When did lockdown start? 2020 to
Yeah,
2019? 2020.
2020.
Yeah, that's it. So we finished, yeah, I think all lockdown sort of started around, was it March, April time?
Yeah.
So we finished a month or two before that. And that was the last play, yeah, I did. So like I've missed it. I've missed it. Like I love theatre sort of deeply. It was like my first passion really, and I think if I haven't done any theatre in a while, so I've been lucky to work in screen a lot lately. But I definitely get withdrawal symptoms on like, yeah, I miss it. That experience. But this is a sort of a hell of a way to come back into theatre experience because yeah, so yeah, it's a beast of a thing to do without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have done a lot of screen work, as you say, doing things like Baby Reindeer and, Slow Horses, The Acolyte. Do people ever recognize you at all as well when you're out on the streets going about your own business too?
Yeah. You do get that. I mean, I think like I mean, Baby Reindeer has just gone insane. So I mean, I'm a sort of technically a supporting part. I appear pop up throughout the series, but because it's gone so absolutely global nuts, it's that's I found of late people recognizing me as the copper, the quite kind of useless copper, I should say, and more than anything lately. So it's really struck a chord with the world, it seems, really, that show, which has been lovely. Yeah, Richard's created something really unique that's really struck a chord. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think Baby Reindeer, I think it started off as a play in the West End as well before it got adapted to Netflix. Were you sort of aware of what the story was and were you surprised by how big it became too?
Yeah, I was aware. I didn't see it, but yeah, it's a one man show as well, obviously. So I picked Richard's brains actually. I said I've got to do a one man show myself. Like so, he yeah, but I'd never seen it. I was just aware of what it was about. So like getting the TV script, it was I think obviously lots of tweaks and had to be made for television, but essentially it was the same story and even tons and tons and tons of the dialogue, the beautiful dialogue he wrote originally for the play got lifted directly and put in the TV series. It's just a really unique perspective Richard got, and I don't think anyone really. Obviously, we all read it and we all thought, "Wow, this is amazing." But you never know how something's going to do or how it will chime with a viewing audience, and this did and more beyond anyone's, I think, expectations. So, and for such a unique, really niche British show,
Mm.
to suddenly go, "Poof," it's got a real worldwide um appeal. It was yeah, it took Richard and I think and everyone by like surprise. It was amazing writing and the quality across the board, but you just never know really. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. I did want to touch on Barbarians a bit as well. You obviously won your first Offie for that performance, fairly early on in your career too. Did you feel like you had just done your best work? And what was your did you were you surprised by like how big a response you got to for that show?
Um, Again, like I think that just the writing, it was Barry Keefe who wrote it, who wrote loads of great plays in the 70s and 80s. Barbarians took place in the 70s slash early 80s. Yeah, it was just an amazing piece to get your teeth into, just three of us. And at the time, I mean, that was still one of the biggest, I think, challenges I'd done in theatre. It was a real epic play. But yeah, it seemed to be going down really well when we were doing it, and it was quite, I guess, sadly, still relevant because it was dealing with youth unemployment and feeling disconnected and having no purpose in society. And in the late 70s, and the government at the time, that's what Barry wanted to represent and point out that these people were being left behind and eventually maybe even turned to hateful roots and racist roots because that they felt, oh, I was being heard here by this by these people or given an opportunity to have my voice heard, even if it was through hateful means. So at the time we did it again, it felt relevant, quite sadly. But Barry's writing, yeah, it's just brilliant. And Death of England, actually, like Roy and Clint, the writers of Death of England, are both they're both very influenced by Barry's writing. I think that's quite clear as well. I know Clint's worked, he did Sus, one of Barry's films, and Barry's one of Roy's like idols, writing idols. So it's you could see the lineage and which is it's lovely sort of to come full circle a little bit really with these guys and yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Barbarians was yeah, an incredible piece. And you got to stay with the character for quite a bit. There was a West End transfer, of course. Did you feel like this character stayed with you much at all as well, and made you look at life differently too?
Yeah, I mean, it did stay with us. I mean, quite literally, a scar stayed with me. I cut my head. Actually, I had to go to hospital. Yeah, like it was because we were doing it in Charing Cross Road. It used to be St. Martin's School of Art,
Mm.
like a famous art school, but it was about to be, which is now sort of posh flats. But it was they wanted like an abandoned looking building for like scallywags to take over and graffiti. So it was kind of like a site specific play. And yeah, so one of the dangers, I jumped in a dress rehearsal and I needed stitches in top of my head. I was a skinhead, so yeah. But it added to it. It looked the part. So for basically most of the run, I had a massive scar across the top of my head. And yeah, so it stayed with me in that respect, and a lot of other ways. It was just amazing writing to get your teeth into. And yeah, it was very fortunate to get the Offie, the Off West End Award that year off the back of it. Was up against a few stalwarts, the theatrical stalwarts, I think at the time. So I was a bit of an underdog. It was lovely to get nominated and to win that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've been quite open about your own working class roots to yourself, and it's been great to see these working class stories being shown on screen and on stage too. How well do you feel like the industry does represent working class people, and were you always interested in pursuing working class stories and working class characters?
Yeah, I think it sort of ebbs and flows, the representation of working class. I mean, through the years, but I think it's getting better. I think from what I've heard, like through people tell me that I think a lot of even like Coronation Street working class, like back in the day, there was sort of writers that were not necessarily from working class backgrounds telling working class stories. And so never really sat as well because they weren't coming from maybe a place of truth. Like, I mean, every writer should be able to imagine stuff, but when it's a very specifically set, and you've got working class writers out there that are struggling to get work, I think they should be given a voice to really tell the truth of where they're, because I think you can't sort of beat that authenticity that they know the patterns and the way of talking but so yeah, I think it's getting a lot better and it has done over the years. And I think you can really tell when a play or a film or a series is written by someone who's got a history or a relationship, yeah, with a certain background. And yeah, what was the other part of your question? Sorry, I was gabbling on a bit there.
Yeah, I was just talking about were you always interested in pursuing like working class parts as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, like, yeah, you want to be able to hopefully like play like a breadth of parts, and I think when you're in, you've got maybe a more idealistic point of view in drama school, and you're thinking, oh, I can play this and I can play that, and at drama school you do get the opportunity a lot of the time to play different sort of parts, but invariably, as you probably know, when you come out, you get more typecast, and usually casting directors and producers they want a native accent. So if they want someone from Manchester, even if we could possibly do a Manchester accent, they go, oh, understandably, if someone's native from there, it's going to be that more set in their being, basically. So I think, yeah, I mean, I've been lucky to do a couple of parts recently. I think the sort of thing usually is that people that maybe aren't working class play down a lot more and get the opportunity to play those sorts of roles. But it's rarer for working class people, I should say, or around that to play up and to play slightly middle class or posher roles. Uh, but yeah, I think hopefully like Eddie Marsan's one of the people that's sort of breaking that and has broken that, and there has been many others over the years. And I'd love to do that too. Like you don't want to just. I also love representing where I'm from and giving a reality and a real voice to people that I hold dear to me and family and friends and that world and life and showing like the joy, and it's not all like doom and gloom where people haven't got tons of money. And I love that. Like a show called Save Me was just that. It was people having a very a laugh and fun. But Lenny James, who wrote it, also he knew that world. He knew that it was a real joyous place, no matter some of the tough things these people were going through. So yeah, but also yeah, as I say, I've been lucky recently. I think there's a few things coming out this year. One of them I play quite a posh priest. So that was nice to do. That was a very rare thing to do for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, there's still often sometimes this talk about elitism as well in the industry. And I was wondering, especially now with like rising ticket prices as well, do you feel like there is still an element of elitism within the industry? And do you feel like it's still a viable career destination for working class people too?
I hope so, but it's been tough lately, I think, for a lot of people. And I think there was a survey recently which didn't make for great reading about the representation, I think, across the board in terms of the producers and directors and writers and actors. It's still quite heavily in favor of people that aren't from working class backgrounds. So there's still a lot of work to be done, and hopefully, if that can turn. I know there's plenty of schemes and things, and like Open Door and others that are trying to get people that haven't got money opportunities to go to drama school. And so because it is it's an industry that does allow, I think, people to thrive more at the start if you have got money, because if you're like speaking from experience as well, like if you're trying to just try and survive and stay afloat, you've got to obviously starting out, you've got to work other jobs, and then if an audition comes in, you've got to try and get time off from that job, and also it's a time thing as well. If you say you haven't got to work another job and you just got great, an audition comes in, you can spend a whole day on it working on it. But someone who's got to work to earn to stay afloat, and has other jobs, they haven't got as much time to read the audition scripts and prepare, and all that comes into play. So it's not an even playing field. So I would say anything that can help that is vital, because there's so many people. I think it's slightly this career opportunity doesn't feel like a possibility or viable for all these reasons. So yeah, I hope more and more, and we should try and keep pushing as an industry to give people opportunities that haven't got the money and the means. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for you personally, like when did acting start to feel like, that could be a viable option for you and that you could, genuinely pursue acting as a career choice?
I was sort of like, I didn't have any money for kind of a long time after drama school, like say working all jobs and doing low paid fringe stuff or just expenses really. So a lot of time I was traveling from Essex, paying for my train and getting like £100 a week that's barely covered even my train expenses. And so, but then you're just inviting people in to see you, and yeah, I mean, I was a bit sort of, it might be naive or blind just to think, okay, I'm just gonna keep on doing this and eventually it'll crack. But yeah, it took me, I think like, I did have my first TV audition for about, I think 7 years after I left drama school. So, and I went to a workshop with a TV casting director for EastEnders, and he, yeah, he called my agent the next day and said, "Can we bring Tom in for?" And that ended up being my first TV job. So my agent was lovely and working their hardest, but I just couldn't get me in the door for any telly or get me audition. So I kind of just went knocking myself really. And I think that kind of cliche of having one bit of telly on my CV allowed other people to think, oh, okay, you can do TV. So yeah, then it did start feeling like maybe like a more viable career from kind of then, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now that you're coming back into theatre as well, do you think like you're going to want to pursue more theatre as well going forwards, or do you think like TV and film is like kind of like where you want to really explore opportunities going forwards?
Yeah, I don't really have a plan as such, Carlos. Yeah, it's all I've never like opportunities come up, and I don't think it's hard to have a plan sometimes because amazing things you never ever see coming. You'd be like, oh my God, right, I could never predicted like that job or that character. So it's yeah, I love theatre too much to try and or to go without it for a long time. So I'd always hope to come back to it as much as I can. But yeah, most recently, TV and film has kind of been where my work has been lately, and I've been loving that too. And it's a totally different craft, but one I love getting my teeth into as well. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just as a last question, what do you hope audiences will take away with them when they come and see Death of England?
Um, I hope that also it's a lot of fun. It deals with a lot of heavy issues, and it goes dark, very quite dark at places. But it's a really funny play as well. They've written Roy and Clint characters that are really there's some home truths and some real laughs in it. So I hope people will be entertained. They seem to be so far in the previews we're doing. Like it's a lot of laughs, but I just hope like it kind of opens some minds really and gets people asking questions about things really and thinking, oh, okay, and about judging books by their covers and not doing that so much really, just thinking, okay, like maybe I didn't know that person, so maybe I should I don't know anyone really, and like you don't know what's behind people's doors and what drives them to do what they do, um yeah, just sort of asking questions about where they like feel they belong in society and stuff. So, but as well as being a good laugh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They are stellar, amazing plays. Yeah, Thomas Coombes, thank you so much for joining us today.
Cheers, Carlos. No, thanks for having us.